Welcome back, everyone, here to yet another match of the Mania 7K World Cup 2024. In the semifinals, we're here with a winner's bracket match, South Korea versus Philippines, a rematch of last year's grand finals where Philippines did end up winning. But we do have a little bit of some roster changes for both teams here. I'm Potassium F coming in once again, commentating alongside SurfChew85. How are you doing today?
Hello. And as you said, a rematch of the 2023 Grand Final. These two teams have had some history already in the 7K World Cup. I think everyone should be aware of 2019. These two were the Grand Finalists. You had 2022, which had a very close match, around same round as well in the semifinal, and obviously what we had last year, and there were also some showdowns between these two countries. So before even 2019, some of the names that we're actually seeing here are pretty familiar as well for over the past editions, and it's going to be interesting to see how everything will shake up, especially now that I think South Korea is out for blood.
Absolutely. South Korea looking for revenge, and they have an even stronger roster than last year, with Han Jae-hoon in particular coming here to bolster up their LN abilities, which is where Philippines were really trying to attack, at least for last year. But this year, things might be a little bit different. Philippines, of course, no longer having Berry, who was one of their strongest players for last year's Grand Finals match. But they still have Kura, and Kura is more than good enough to keep up with some of the best in South Korea here. I think what it's going to come down to is maybe one of Philippines' second players, either Sani or lack points, Arona, for most of these maps, you would have to imagine, whether or not they can keep up with South Korea's second player. I think that's going to be the main deciding factor for most of this match.
Indeed, and I think for the Philippines really to pull through here is just get that second player out. Just get that second player really perform very well. South Korea will be going guns out blazing here. I would definitely see Dresser and Han Jae-hoon perform very well on these charts that are practically catered towards their skill sets.
Yeah, absolutely. As the rounds progress, you can only imagine South Korea getting stronger and stronger relative to the other teams. Philippines, of course, their players are going to fare pretty well with the late game. They can all play these late game maps or harder maps very well as well. It'll all come down to the individual consistency, the accuracy. Any chokes that we see are going to matter all that much more here. And it looks like we've got a few in. I believe it was Philippines protecting LN1 before. We're going to see the last page being protected. Obviously mapped by Filipino as well, yourself.
It's kind of weird to see Philippines protecting my chart. They usually end up banning it, for the record. It's so weird.
But it looks like the intentions are being made clear here. Philippines wanting to go away from Rice 4, so we're not going to be seeing South Korea put up ridiculous scores on the core Jack pick once again. Japan being gifted the #1 team score for this weekend, it looks like, on core Jack. But LN2 being the ban for South Korea, it looks like they're not looking to go into more of the LN coordination type picks, so maybe that protect from Philippines might end up paying off.
Well, we'll see how things shake out in that end. But for now, I think, especially at this stage of the match, I think everyone's just going to see how everyone will be performing. And here we go, South Korea actually going for hybrid 1. Have we seen this the previous match actually?
I was gonna say I don't think I've seen this being played at all this whole weekend. I think
this might be the first time this actually gets picked.
I think I wasn't around for the Canada-Brazil match, but other than that, yeah, this has definitely not been played in any of the other matches, that's for sure. So, interesting to see this being picked out like right away as well. First pick from South Korea Really strange to see someone go for the hybrid picks, but I guess this is also just South Korea saying there is no weaknesses. There's no weaknesses. There's no particular strengths for South Korea to play into. They can play whatever they want. As long as they're comfortable with it, they are free to go with whatever. And they're going to start off with an interesting one. We don't have any scores from other teams to really compare to for this, but we are going to get Han Jae-hoon and Dress-Up. That is a terrifying pair from South Korea.
Well, arguably South Korea's best possible pairing here for the hybrids and the LNs. And I think we might see the nuttiest team score of the weekend if everything falls in place for them.
And of course, if anyone wasn't aware from last week, Oji-san in the top right is Kura. That is just a name change there. So Kura being in alongside Sani as well. We're going to see an early break here from Sani, dropping down to 98%. That's going to give South Korea a little bit of a lead early on.
Just a background as well. Over the past year, ever since the 2023 Grand Final, those who are not aware of like the scene, especially for the Mania in the Philippines, Sani is the defending Philippine national champion for 7K, and I think we should be seeing more of him really in this environment, like these higher level charts. Usually, Sani is a guy who would perform very well on harder and harder stuff. As you see, Han Jae-hoon finding the first round for the South Koreans this match. But I think it's pretty uncharacteristic for them for the meantime. And obviously, there's Dresser carrying the 99.21 FC. Oji-san, currently the best score in the multiplayer room, and I think that's pretty much expected from these two superstars.
Yeah, actually one miss from either side. The only lead that's coming in for the favor of South Korea is in that accuracy. Although Kura is beating out Dress-Up, Han Jae-hoon is beating Sunny by even more. Sunny falling behind the other three players in terms of accuracy at 98.5, but close enough. So this lead is nothing too massive. Only 12,000 points. This is definitely recoverable, but Philippines are looking at South Korea to try and like make a miss at some point, make a mistake, because this lead is not going to shrink by itself.
Well, that's really the caliber of South Korea in 7K in general. Like, there's a reason why they dominated the scene over the past years. Only had two misses, one in 2016 and one in 2023, and I think, especially the recent loss last year, they're definitely showing that, we're here, we're going to dominate you, and we're going to make sure that you won't recover anything. And they're already seeing that in something that, with respect to the Philippines, is actually going to be performing very well on.
Yeah, there was another fairly clean miss from Sani just earlier. Still at 98.4 though, and look at the accuracies of the other three. They've been rising throughout the entire map. Sani finding another miss, unfortunately going to raise that lead to 30,000 points, but ultimately doesn't really matter that much. Oh, there's the last FC for Philippines gone, and we are going to be seeing South Korea taking this point in the end. I think even with that miss, it was a little bit too late there, and Kura is going to actually get the MVP at the end despite the miss.
A very unfortunate miss there in the end for Kura. But that's it. South Korea will be grabbing the first point, and at least for the Philippines, they should at least find some comfort actually with possibly LN1 or LN2. Really depends on how they'll be approaching this match. If anything, they need to avoid the rice picks for now.
Yeah, I wonder if Philippines decide to go straight for their Protect, which was the LN1. That might be an idea for them to come out here, because against a team like South Korea, you can't really be affording to save picks for later. I don't think there's very many picks that Philippines are going to be comfortable fighting South Korea on in particular. So I wonder if we are going to see one of these LN picks going to come out early on.
And we're just waiting for their decision.
Yeah, it is kind of just it's kind of a rough situation for Philippines to try picking in this match, because it feels like none of the options are particularly safe, right? If you pick LN, well, if you pick Rice, obviously you have Dressurf and YZ, terrifying combo to contend with, but LN, we've got Han Jae-hoon here as well. So even though this is Philippines Protect, South Korea is going to be looking to try and breakpoint this one. We are seeing the same two players, Kura and Sanik, staying in for Philippines, which makes sense here. But Dressurf switching out, maybe YZ going to be the one to substitute in here.
And YZ will be coming in indeed. This is actually a pretty nutty pairing here for South Korea. They've been mentioning in the chat at least that they might find some problems with the Ellen release pick. Ojisan and Sunny, presumably their main Ellen team for this match. I'm actually surprised that Arona isn't coming in for the Ellen picks, especially for these lower ones.
Yeah, I do think Arona has some very, very high scores on some of those coordination release focus maps that we've seen in the past. But regardless, it is going to be Sunny staying in here. This one that has a lot of risk of missing, a lot of risk of collapse in a lot of these parts, because patterns are not very comfortable to hold combo or get good accuracy on at all, despite being a little bit slower than maybe some of the other LN maps.
And there's also this section at the final third of the chart where I think most of the score swings will be happening if it will. Very good start here for South Korea, actually carrying like higher accuracies and on average. Oji-san and Sunny holding a pretty consistent around 99.5, and Oji-san uncharacteristic miss there. And that should give South Korea some breathing room.
Fairly clean though. 99.4 is still very high accuracy there from Kura, and it's maintaining this lead, or kind of reducing it to just 6,000 points, 7,000 points. But a second miss there. Sunny finding another one. That's both full combos now gone for Philippines. This lead, although not massive just yet, the accuracy lead is still fairly close between the two teams. So a couple misses from South Korea could definitely swing this back the other way, but that's if they decide to miss. And so far, they're looking very consistent as we're getting to the halfway mark.
Yeah, this section, you'd think that somebody might trip up, but I don't think we're going to be seeing that. And now, to the more Ellen coordination-like section. Everyone holding on to these notes very well, literally.
Yeah, Surf trying his best to try and throw out a couple of curses, but not quite working with any of these players. And
I wasn't trying that. Anyways, I wasn't trying that. Both South Korea is still holding on to their combos, actually, same for the Philippines as well. On arguably the hardest section of this entire chart, no one getting really unfazed. We're not seeing any major act drops. Sunny still Sunny, unfortunately, though, at that 99.2 level, finding a drop somewhere. Finding up somewhere before the beginning of the section, and Oji-san dropping their combo as well at the end. And
are we
South
seeing
Korea
a two-way FC? That's insane. Yeah. 983k on both of the players. Han Jae-hoon and YZ crushing this one, despite it being Philippines' pick. And we can see why. These Philippine scores, this beats out every other team that we've seen on this map, surely. But not South Korea. This is why South Korea's #1 seed. Breakpoint very early on in the match, 2-0 up, and now they get their own pick.
Yeah, that's a very, very nutty team score there in general. Also, that 200 count from Han Jae-hoon, something that we expected from one of the best LN players in the entire roster.
Yeah, not just the roster, the entire world. I feel like there's very few players that can even hope to match up to some of the scores that we've seen Han Jae-hoon put out throughout the entire tournament. And it just so happens that some of the players that can compete are on the South Korean team as well.
Yeah. And like also to YZ, like how do you even ratio this? Can you give me tips?
I wish I was as good as YZ. But it is going to be South Korea now. I wonder what they're going to go with now, because they started off with a fairly unconventional hybrid pick. I wonder if they decide to keep going with those hybrids, or instead, yeah, they're going for the Rice instead. Rice 1 being picked up here.
A very good pick here from South Korea. And let's just say that Rice 1, I'd say, might be the most difficult skill set I think for the Philippines to deal with in the Rice picks. Unless if for some reason the Philippines has that a second player that could keep up with Kura on these delay patterns.
Yeah, and Kura can definitely put up some good scores on this one as well, of course, but this was South Korea's Protect for a reason, and when I think of, these kind of delay speed stream patterns, I'm thinking Dress Surf is the one to look out for here. Definitely one of those players that can put up, like, ratios on Rice maps that you should not be able to get. Like, ones that just shouldn't happen. And I'm wondering exactly how high that's going to go in this one here. But that said, we have seen a few chokes even from strong Rice teams on this one. It's possible to manage to drop a fair bit of score just from a small mistake here. Looks like there was a bit of a disconnect earlier, so we're going to be loading up the map once again.
You mentioned chokes from major Rice teams. One that I could remember vividly is the one from Britannica on the earlier Japan match yesterday. But still a very impressive score. And obviously, I think the score to beat, if any of Dresser or YZ is aiming for topping the chart leaderboard series, to look out for Chiwi's score from yesterday as well.
991k, right?
Yeah. How?
I wonder. I don't know if that's possible to beat, but we'll see. If anyone does, it is going to have to be one of these Korean players, or maybe even Kura. But Sani off to not the best of starts. Early miss there, dropping down to 98.4. And South Korea off to a nice start themselves.
And that's not even yet the main meat of this chart. It'll be coming in a few moments from now. Well, to be fair, it's an early miss. Like, anything can still happen. But what are these accuracies from Dresser and YZ? All right.
They are going for ratio. They are just straight up going for ratio on these. But a couple 200s coming in, so dropping that accuracy a little bit, but way above both Kura and Sani right now. Sani in particular struggling a little bit more with the accuracy down at 98.5.
Yeah, a full percent behind their teammate. But that's really what to. But again, Dresser and YZ among the best players in the entire world. It's going to be interesting how they'll be dealing with the second half of the final third of this chart, where the balance get a bit more funny. Ooh, an unfortunate miss there from Sunny. Before we even get to the section, something to note, Sunny is actually hitting pretty early, which is not helping their accuracy at all.
Yeah, act drops from both Dressup and YZ, but definitely not enough to counteract those misses. And this score lead is just growing larger and larger by the second. 53,000 points right now, as we still have 3 full combos in this last section of the map.
Yeah, like, I think, like, regardless, really, like, whatever score you get here, like, these are very, very high scores. Like, some of the highest that we'll be seeing this entire weekend.
That's a double FC for South Korea. Oh, that is
still super consistent.
That is so. Why are they so comfortable on this? 987, 986, and that's a team score that no one is going to be able to beat ever in this tournament. Kura also managing the full combo, 978k, very impressive there, but not quite enough in this scenario. 3-0 for South Korea. They're winning all of their picks so far, and it's up to Philippines. They are going to need to pick wisely here.
It's time for the Philippines to make a reply. They're going for Ghost. Allen Density pick. I mean, they'll have to stick with these Allen picks and hope that something happens. Something happens in their favor, obviously.
Yeah, we've seen a fair share of collapses on this one as well. A lot of combo drops, a lot of accuracy drops, definitely possible towards the midsection of this map, but I would say the same thing for Rice 1, but South Korea didn't budge there. I wonder whether or not there will be any mistakes coming out from South Korea, because that is really what Philippines has to rely on at this point. Looks like we are getting a switch out. We're going to see Arona coming in for the first time for Philippines.
Yeah, so I think this is a bit more expectedly for Philippines. Carrying this LN team, at least from what I've seen really over the past few months, Sunny would be fitting more towards like sometime later in the tournament, regardless. Though I guess presumably Allen won. It may be possible that Sunny has a better score than Arona when that rolled around. I guess the Philippines just really needs to get that optimal lineup really, especially with facing a team that has, you know, Dresser, Han Jae-hoon, YZ, and Outlast. All right, yeah,
it is a stacked lobby all around here. But Philippines, the pressure is on them to try and perform up to the standards of South Korea, because they're just showing a performance that, quite frankly, is just unbeatable right now. And we'll see as we're getting into this one, some dense patterns coming after this early intro section. Everyone faring fairly well on it at the start here. But,
there's OG-san finding a very unfortunate drop at the beginning. As much as I want to say that is still very early in the chart and anything could still happen, but if you're like, at least from what we've seen from both Dresser and Han Jae-hoon, like, they're very in form. I think we should be expecting a very nutty team score in general from these two, and you cannot really afford to find any drops if you're the Philippines. Though that's a good sign though, Dresser finding a drop there.
And this
lead,
should
balance this out.
Very small, only 1,000 points in the favor of South Korea. They have the accuracy lead, that's what's doing it. And now we're getting the real density parts of this map. If there are any drops from South Korea, this is going to flick over towards Philippines instantly, but both teams are going to have to hold on if they want any chance to be able to take this point. No one tripping up at all.
South Korea actually gaining more of an advantage in that sequence. I think I saw Han Jae-hoon actually increase their accuracy as well throughout the chorus section, and like just a minor accuracy drop there from Arona. But South Korea is starting to become a bit more comfortable into this chart as it keeps on going. Like both Dresser and Han Jae-hoon actually still gaining accuracy. Let's see though if they'll be able to maintain that in this guitar solo. Arona finding a drop at the beginning, and that is not a good sign.
Yeah, second drop as well. No drops coming on the side of South Korea. They're crushing this right now. How are they maintaining their accuracies as well? Han Jae-hoon is still on 99.7. There's no way you miss on
finding
that
a drop there on the break
after that whole section. How do you miss on that? Oh, well, okay, whatever, Dresser. But this is going to be still not affecting the score lead.
That is definitely a top Mania player problem. Like, you know, just hit a very intense 16-bit, 32-bit section with Allen walls and all that stuff, and then miss on a single note on the break section.
Yeah,
definitely a top player problem.
But Arona trading here with Dresser, both of those players missing, but that is just fine for South Korea. They still have this 13,000 point lead. Still the full combo alive on the side of South Korea with such high accuracies across the board. Actually, Kura matching the accuracy of Han Jae-hoon. But Arona finding one too many misses throughout that break section, and that's still causing this decent point lead in the favor of South Korea. And
like South Korea just needs to take this home now, trying not to find any additional drops if just for the leaderboards, I would think. And there you go, South Korea grabbing their 4th consecutive point with a full combo, a very clean full combo there from Han Jae-hoon.
And not too far behind, actually, is Kura. If it wasn't for that slider break in the first kind of 30 seconds of the map, Kura would have had an even better score as well. But yeah, it is Han Jae-hoon with that MVP, 988, 980. There's 3 scores above 980k in this lobby, and I'm not sure. I'm trying to think back. Have I even seen one 980k score in any of the other matches? Maybe not.
I think this might be the highest score. We'll see that once the player stats roll around. But I think I don't think that score will be getting beat. Like with the remaining matches of the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I think we only have one match after this, so definitely looking like South Korea dominating in the team score department. And 4-0 now. That was Philippines' pick again, so second break point in favor of South Korea. Now they get their own pick, and they can keep going with Rice. They looked very, very comfortable on Rice 1.
Okay, so if we're South Korea, like if you want to keep the dominant form, I think their best possible pick is Rice 6. I want to see their score also on Retinue as well. But regardless, I think they should be fine with the rest of the pool, really. Like something has to happen, a miracle has to happen for the Philippines for them to even score a point here in this match.
Yeah, absolutely. They're definitely on the back foot right now. South Korea fully warmed up into this tournament. And we are just waiting for South Korea's pick. They're thinking about it a little bit. They're not sure what to go for. Maybe too many good options on the table. But actually calling for a timeout instead. Wanting to discuss a little bit more. And I mean, hard to say that any of these picks are bad. You know, we've seen on both of the LN maps being played, we've seen them win on the hybrid, we've seen them win on the Rice as well. They can pick anything, and I would just sit here and nod my head. I would agree.
So apparently, I think the timeout is mostly just to fix a few issues with some client lag, I think.
Client. So what the scores that we just saw with client lag is what they're saying. Okay.
Is that what they mean? Like
I mean, maybe that explains the dress surf miss. Maybe we would have seen 2 FCs for South Korea, which is a crazy thing to say, but that's the kind of level that we're looking at here. Oh, Rice 2. That's interesting pick. We've actually seen almost every team so far has been avoiding this pick so much because it is a very uncomfortable setup happening here. A lot of brackets involved.
And not just that, the charting in itself is pretty, let's just say it's, like for a core team chart, compared to what we see over the previous rounds and also for the previous World Cups as well, this is the more out there kind of chord stream. And I think a theory I've been holding is that South Korea might be avoiding Rice 3 because they know that Oji-san is likely to find Rice 3 easier to get through with a very, very good score. Arkwin as well. I know Arkwin has been working on their Rice over the past few months as well, so South Korea might be wary of that. Playing safe. I think they're playing safe in a way, despite their dominance really in this match.
And interestingly enough, we are seeing Han Jae-hoon staying in as well. YZ not being switched in for a Rice map for what feels like the first time in a few weeks. But of course, Han Jae-hoon also very, very strong at the Rice picks as well. We're seeing good start actually for all 4 players. Han Jae-hoon with an early miss.
Uncharacteristic miss there from Han Jae-hoon, and that does give the Philippines some room to breathe here. Actually, I think this is the first time that they are actually carrying the lead in a map for an extended period. this entire match, and Arkwin finding a trade, so that gives the lead back to South Korea.
Yeah,
And Han Jae-hyun has already
accuracy drop
recovered.
here. Yeah, actually dropped from Arkwin down to 99.1, while, as you said, Han Jae-hyun already reaching about 99.5, 99.6 range. But whoa,
that's a massive drop in the bracket.
Oh, that was rough.
Oh,
we saw
man.
the 50s in that one. More than 0.5% in 1 second being dropped there, and that's gonna flip the lead right away to Philippines. But look at this accuracy once again. Han Jae-hyun is building it back up really fast, and it's already above Arkwin's.
And honestly, like, if the Philippines wants to get this point, they need to maintain this consistency, even increase its accuracy, especially if you're Arkwin. Especially Han Jae-hyun's already back at the 99 point, well, dropped back to the 99.1 level, but you see how Han Jae-hyun easily recovered accuracy.
Yeah, he absolutely has the accuracy here, just not the comfort in holding the combo. Arkwin finds a miss, but that's very clean. That one, though, might be enough to actually give South Korea the lead. And another miss from Arkwin, the repeated ones. Now this swings all the way back in South Korea's favor. And if they just hold on, this might be the win for South Korea on this one. They're going to need to hold on to the combo for a little bit more, though.
Yeah, like, I think those misses really from Arkwin on that very done section, basically putting a nail in the coffin for the Philippines this chart. And there's no time anymore.
Oh, I saw the misses coming through there. I saw those misses, but traded at the end, and it was the two players that we did not mention through the entire map. Dresef and Kura both matching each other's scores, having 994k each. Kura with 0-200s is just absurd.
Yeah. I mean, I told you, Ojisa is like one of the strongest score stream players here in the entire roster, actually, possibly in the entire world. And we're seeing that, but still, though, how do you get 100 and no 200s? Like,
you know, brackets.
This is not the
brackets are the answer.
This is not brackets, but
you can mess up. Okay, maybe this is just me being a bit of a noob talking here, but brackets are very easy to drop 100s on, I feel.
I mean that is true, but usually when you see that score, like high ratio 0-200 100, you'd associate it with 4 jacks.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But despite that performance, it was kind of cancelled out by a Dresef's score. So the Han Jae-hyun ended up winning over Arkwin, and that's what ended up with South Korea taking their own point. That was the closest map we've seen so far, and it was South Korea's own pick. Now Philippines gonna go back to the hybrids. We're going all the way back here, and they need to win this one because South Korea on match point already.
And I mean, I guess this might be a reverse situation of 2022 semifinals between these two, but the circumstances are very different. The pools are harder, and you have two players who are actually in form right now for South Korea. Philippines definitely has a very steep hill to climb.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like we are going to have YZ being switched in for Dresef right now. Of course, this one being a hybrid map. I think Han Jae-hyun in particular is going to be looking more comfortable on this one than he was on the Rice map earlier. Philippines looking to keep their same roster that they had just before.
I think this is a pretty good lineup for the Philippines and for this pick in particular. Basically, just trying to counter what South Korea has. YZ and Han Jae-hyun actually are very strong overall players. And I think for the Philippines, this is one of their stronger possible all-rounder teams, especially at this stage of a tournament. Well, anyways, here we go with this chart. Something that increases in speed every 4 beats, from 100 BPM to 400 BPM.
Oh, early miss there from Kura, but a fairly clean one, all things considered. It's actually Arkwin holding the lower accuracy, 99.2, and the ACK lead in favor of South Korea. It's going to balloon the lead up a little bit.
Actually,
now
I just
Hanjae-hun.
want to give a shout. I want to give a shout to YZ's accuracy here, like just getting the mid 99.7. All right. Like, how
Shout
do you
out
act
to
this?
South Korea's combo as well. I'm trying. But it is still going to be the 3 full combos that we're seeing for the other players. Only the 1 miss so far for Kura, but this one does get faster and faster. So as the speed really kicks in, we might see some mistakes coming in from either side. It's only 10,000 points, not that big of a gap between the two teams right now.
Series of 200 from Hanjae actually dropping their accuracy just a tad bit, but like the score in general is still like the score gap is still increasing here in South Korea's favor of Arquin, despite the whole combo actually getting the lowest accuracy in the entire room here, and that keeps on giving South Korea the advantage that they need.
Oh my god, I can't believe players are still holding on. What's going on? 3 full combos still, and we're getting into the last section of the map. Surely now someone manages to find a break. But if not, South Korea is looking like they're just going to start running away with this lead. 16,000 points. There's
well, there
YZ.
you go. YZ finding a drop.
But that's just
But
too
that's
late.
the end of the chart, though.
Yeah, the map is already over. And too little too late for Philippines here. It is going to be South Korea winning in a clean sweep 6-0 over Philippines, taking their revenge on the Grand Finals performance last year. And actually, at the end of things, despite the miss, actually, Kura with the MVP, it looks like, just from accuracy alone.
Yeah, like despite the miss, really. And I think with that, the losers bracket has just gotten a bit more spicier from this point on. Meanwhile, congratulations to South Korea booking their place in the winners bracket final, guaranteeing themselves top 3 in the tournament for basically the 8th or 9th time in a row. Basically, all of the additions to the 7K World Cup that has happened, and we'll be facing Malaysia for a spot in the grand finals.
Yeah, there is a lot of matches. All these matches left over that we're going to be seeing coming up next week are going to be really intense, I think. 2 of the teams now already decided for the podium, right? South Korea and Malaysia both guaranteed top 3 right now. It's all going to come down. I think the losers bracket is going to be an absolute bloodbath next week, because we're seeing what, Japan, China, Philippines, all of these really strong teams. Only one of them can make podium now.
And there's still one more spot in the final 6 that we'll be seeing next weekend that will be determined this weekend, and it's a pretty spicy matchup as well. We have Canada and Thailand. Canada looking to make history to become one of the first Western Hemisphere teams to actually reach the final stage of a 7K World Cup. Like, yeah, gotta emphasize that. And Thailand hoping to get back to the final stage that they haven't, I think, over the past. Like, they haven't for a while really made a notable run. So both teams having something to prove, and that should be coming at around like, I hope and there you go, at 14:30 UTC.
So 3.5 hours, just about 3 hours 20 minutes from now. Make sure you stick around for that one. That is going to be our last match of the weekend, of course, as well. Right after that, you can expect a map pool showcase for the finals. So just the last 2 streams this weekend, and we will have our matches for next week decided. There are going to be there's going to be so many cool matches next week for sure. But this one as well, Thailand versus Canada, this is a big one, and I am not sure who I think has the upper hand in this one in particular. So make sure you stick around for that match in about 3 hours.
Well, if you guys want to show your support, I mean, there's a way we could do it. Do you know what it is?
I don't know what it is. What is it?
It is the fact that the Osimania 7K World Cup 2024 team support banners are up on the OC store. You can buy all 24 of them. Like, this includes teams that have been eliminated from the tournament, but if you still want to show your support them, please feel free to do so. And obviously for the teams still remain, you can show your support to them as well in your profile. If you're patriotic, you might support a team of your country. If you have a favorite player, you can also support their team. Like, again, you can buy all 24. If you so happen to buy the banner of the winning team for this World Cup, you might see that banner as well show up in your profile just a tad bit longer than the others.
Yeah, of course. So make sure you go stick around, buy some of those, of course, make your profile very long. I want to see the long profiles out there. But for now, we're going to be taking a bit of a break. So make sure you stick around in about 3 hours and come back to watch this last match of the weekend. So we will see you then.